Okay, welcome to our very first video blog, or vlog as they like to call it.
Vlog?
Vlog, V-L-O-G. I don't know, it's a weird word, but welcome to the internet age. I'm Dan Seitz. This is my bandmate and manager, Marie Burgess, and we are REVILUTION. Basically what the purpose of this is to try to engage with our fans and potential fans, kind of explain to them what we do, as far as recording and releasing albums and stuff like that. You're going to see footage of laying down tracks and putting a song together, basically. We started out in 2011. Why don't you go ahead and tell them how we met? Kind of get the ball rolling.
Okay, well, I had started going to a local gym in Colorado where we're both from, same area, and there was a guy there who was a massage therapist, and I started going to him for massage therapy treatments. Then we started talking about music, and he used to be in a band with Dan. Dan was the drummer, and Gary played rhythm guitar?
We played rhythm guitar mostly, yes.
Rhythm guitar. Anyway, they were pretty tight, but Dan had moved to California to pursue his music career. In talking around with him, he was like, I got somebody I want you to meet, but he's in California. And I was like, why do you want me to meet somebody in California? I was very shy. I was hesitant to talk to him. We texted, and he was like, this is going to be a long conversation. Maybe we should just talk on the phone. And so we did. Well, we were on the phone half the night. So there's always been a connection there. Gary nailed it. We appreciate that. After we kind of got to know each other, and I listened to some tunes that he had on Reverb Nation. He had his own page, and I was drawn to his song Heaven's Light that he wrote in another time in his life. And he played all the instruments, and he wrote it and recorded and sang on it. And I was like, wow, he did all that. And it was rough. It didn't sound super great. You didn't get it right away. But when I did, I wrote him about it. I said, I can really hear the emotion in your voice, and I did a whole, picked the song apart and talked about it, and he said, nobody's ever done that before.
Okay, well, let me give you a little bit of background about where I was coming from, and we'll get caught up to where she is right there. I've been into music pretty much as long as I can remember. My dad had a decent stereo when I was a little kid. This is back in the early 70s. He had a radio, 8-track was really popular, turntable, and he had a reel-to-reel. The reel-to-reel always kind of drew me to it. There's something about watching the reels go around or whatever that's always been something that's fascinated me, and to this day I'm still heavily into them. I have several machines in my house and I use most of them. So starting from watching reels go around on a reel-to-reel, eventually I started getting into listening to the music that was being played through the speakers. By the time I was 6 years old, I could actually run a reel-to-reel, and somewhere around the ages, somewhere between 6 and 8, my grandmother started giving me piano lessons. I was really bad at it. I never learned how to read music. I can kind of sort of do it today, but you couldn't set a piece of sheet music in front of me and expect me to play it. It's not going to happen. It takes me too long to try to interpret what those little dots on the lines are supposed to mean. So it's not something that I can do, but I discovered pretty early on that I've got kind of an ear for music. I can kind of hear something and sort of pick it out. And a lot of times it happens by accident. I'll accidentally hit a note and say, oh, that sounds like that. And I'll put it together, and I can kind of sort of play it through, and that's served me pretty well. Started getting into drumming and listening to drums when I was, I don't know, maybe 12, 13 years old. I always tried to sing from the time I was like 7, and I was never very good at that either. Drums kind of drew me, and then guitar kind of drew me, and eventually I heard Kiss's album Love Gun, and that got me hooked on hard rock and heavy metal. Took guitar lessons in high school when I was 16. Joined the military when I was 19 and was shipped over to Korea, and I actually learned how to play drums in Korea by sitting down at a drum set with a couple of other guys I met and just playing. So starting from probably the age of 3 up until now, I have soaked my brain in music. Tried to start a few bands in high school, never went anywhere. Nobody ever had instruments or had time or anything like that. Wound up getting married and having a couple of kids, and constantly trying to get into bands and jam with people and stuff. I finally got into my first real band, what I would consider a real band, after I moved to Colorado, and I was in various incarnations of that band for I don't know, 11 years or something like that. And that was where I met Gary, who was Marie's massage therapist. Back around 2011, I decided I didn't like Colorado anymore, so I was like, I'm gonna go be a musician in California. Quit my job, packed up all my gear, and away I went. And then around October of 2011, I'm still in contact with Gary, and he tells me that he's got somebody that he thinks I should meet, and he sends me Marie's phone number, and that's how we met and we started talking. Come November of 2011, she took a trip to California from Colorado, and we got to talking around, and she decided that she wanted to help me become a musician. She asked me what I needed, and I said, honestly, I just need a multi-track recorder. I've got everything else. So
I was like, you need a recorder? And so like we got on the internet,
yeah.
we went around, I was at a hotel, we went around to the computer on the hotel and pulled up American Music Supply, and they had a 16-track recorder, and so we ordered it up. So I stayed a little bit longer because I wanted to be there when it was delivered.
How many trips do you think you made from Colorado to California before you finally moved out here? 3, 4?
About 3.
At least 3, I would say.
And I was taking the dogs and everything,
okay.
and staying in a hotel for a week, and it was always some kind of an emergency and stuff like that. So
Right.
It was obvious to me that I was going to have to be here to oversee things directly. Me being in the band as a vocalist came later. He writes it all, composes it all, and plays it all, and really can't beat that.
But anyway, going back to the trips back and forth, you made at least 3 trips that we know of. The first time that we actually met face to face, I made the trip, used up all of my money, drove to Colorado, met her, hung out for a few days. Then shortly after that, I somehow let it slip that I was getting ready to lose everything that I owned in storage, because when I moved to California, I didn't have a house to live in. I moved to live with my sister, who was living in a 2-bedroom apartment, this little tiny place with 6 kids. I didn't have anywhere to put my stuff, so I stuffed it in storage. Then I couldn't find a job, so suddenly it got to be impossible basically to pay my storage bill. She heard about that. She didn't want me to lose my instruments or any of my other stuff, so she paid the storage bill. Still didn't have a job, so I was still telling her, well, I'm still going to have to find work, even though you've bought me this recorder and everything. I'm not going to be able to devote 24 hours a day to it. And she's like, well, how about if I pay you? Well, what kind of aspiring musician could turn that down, right? So I took her up on it, and that is honestly the main reason that our relationship has developed where it is. If she hadn't been willing to go that far, you know, to make sure that I was okay, to make sure that I was taken care of and I didn't lose all of my junk, I would have been out. I've never had anybody show me that kind of devotion, that kind of faith, until she came along.
I feel like a musician needs his instruments. It didn't make sense to me. It just didn't calculate in my brain. How is a musician supposed to be a musician without his instruments? That's where I was coming from.
And so that's where we are with the first video vlog. Do you have anything to add?
No, I think that's enough.
Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully there will be more for you to see later. Have a good one from Revolution.